Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have made an appearance at the Ripple of Hope Awards in New York, where they were awarded laureates for their anti-racism work.
Well, it comes ahead of their much-discussed Netflix docu-series that's released tomorrow. Well, let's give you a glimpse of what Harry had to say at the ceremony last night.
Actually, to be honest with you, Kerry, I actually thought we were just going on date night, so I found it quite weird that we're sharing the room with 1,500 people. I mean, we don't get out much because our kids are so small and young, so this is completely unexpected. But it's nice to share date night with all of you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for bringing me on this very special date night.
You're welcome.
Well, let's speak to our Raw reporter, Cameron Walker, who's in the studio. That was jovial, light-hearted. It hasn't necessarily been like that for them the last few days.
It was, clearly ignoring as well on the way into the venue last night. The pair of them were heckled by a member of the crowd who yelled at them, "What do you think about destroying the royal family?" Of course, this is coming just a day before their first 3 episodes of this Netflix documentary series is released, where they are expected to air some concerns and problems they had with the royal family when they were still working members. So the reason they're being given this award by the Robert F. Kennedy Foundation is for being an exemplary leader across government, business and entertainment. But Kerry Kennedy, who was that blonde lady you saw in the clip with Harry and Meghan there, is the daughter of Robert Kennedy. And in an interview in November, she said the reason they are being given this Ripple of Hope award is for standing up against institutional racism within the royal family. Now, of course, if you remember back in 2021, following the Oprah interview, the late Queen famously released that statement saying recollections may vary.
And there have been lots of strong lines in the Netflix intro, the trailer that we saw about racism and hatred and the perils of marrying into the royal family. And, you know, I wonder how this landed. Well, I know how I think. But private jets were taken to this event. It was $1 million for a ticket. I mean, this is the great and the good and the very, very wealthy and the most privileged people in America talking about oppression. How out of touch are they with reality, would you say?
I think it's a fine line for Harry and Meghan. I think the problem is, as we know, we're in a big cost of living crisis here in the United Kingdom. You mentioned the private jets. Clearly, they've got a millions of dollar deal with Netflix, with Spotify, and clearly them complaining, as they appear they're about to do in this Netflix documentary, perhaps will not go down too well with some people. However, clearly they genuinely believe that they were victims of press intrusion, if the trailer's anything to go by. But I think their argument is weakened by the revelations that we saw in yesterday's papers, that the images of them being allegedly chased by paparazzi wasn't actually them being chased by paparazzi. Though that footage was taken following a court hearing with Katie Price at Crawley Magistrates Court. Another instance where there's a shot of Prince Harry, Meghan and their baby son Archie in South Africa. That was an agreed camera, agreed by Kensington Palace and agreed by Harry and Meghan. It was not a press intrusion moment.
Yeah, agreed, as they often do when the royals go out. I don't think the public are aware of this. There's often an agreement with media about who will cover it, and it's all agreed with the palace beforehand. Talking of the palace, it's going to be a really difficult week for them. Eyes on them. On the front page of the Times today, Palace must reject the Sussex lies, says a former aide. Do you think we'll hear anything from them?
So the official line from Buckingham Palace and Kensington Palace, as it stands, is no comment. However, if there is a specific allegation, I predict that they perhaps would fight back with some kind of statement. The reason being is, as I mentioned, the late Queen set a precedent following the 2021 Oprah interview where she did release a statement saying recollections may vary. It wouldn't surprise me if we see something similar. But for now, we see members of the royal family very much putting on a brave face, keeping calm and carrying on. We saw the King in Luton yesterday carrying out community engagements there. Yesterday, the King, Queen Consort, the Prince and Princess of Wales hosted a diplomatic reception at Buckingham Palace, that soft power of diplomacy which the royal family is so famous for, ignoring all this Harry and Meghan noise, as it were. But clearly it's going to be in the back of their minds, considering it pretty much overshadows the Boston tour of the Prince and Princess of Wales last week.
Isn't part of the problem, though, is there haven't been specific allegations. For example, newspapers were racist. Certain individuals within the court leaked stories, but nobody was ever named. And therefore, it kind of gives them carte blanche to make sweeping statements without actually naming an individual. I think that's out of order.
Well, it's the inconsistencies, I think, that have played into last time. I keep referring back to the Oprah interview, but my point being it's the same kind of allegations we are expecting to see in this Netflix documentary. I think the difference now is perhaps we can see from the comments we're seeing here on GBNews or we're seeing in the papers, there is a lot more, perhaps, criticism or questioning as to exactly what the Sussexes are saying. And clearly, as we saw in the first trailer, Meghan said that doesn't it make sense to hear our story from us? So clearly they have a side of the story, Harry and Meghan, that they genuinely believe is the truth, and we should respect that that is what they believe is the truth. However, clearly there are two sides to every story, and that is the danger for Harry and Meghan.
You mentioned how the royal family are keeping calm, carrying on. The Queen Consort has made a media appearance.
Yes, she has, this morning, in the Good Housekeeping magazine, Britain's best-selling lifestyle magazine. She is the new cover star for this issue. She's done an interview talking about victims of domestic abuse and her support of charities associated with that, but also within this magazine are interviews with other members of the royal family who are female. So the Princess of Wales is featured and has done an interview. Princess Anne, the Countess of Wessex, Princess Alexandra and the Duchess of Gloucester. They'll be talking about dementia, carers, child safety and missing people. So causes close to their heart.
It'd be nice, wouldn't it, if the actual good news from the royal family became the first story rather than the final story. So hopefully things will settle down after this Netflix documentary comes and goes, but I think it's going to roll and roll. You're going to a special screening of it to watch it live?
Well, we'll be watching it from tomorrow morning when it airs on Netflix, yes.
Yeah, looking forward to it?
Yeah, I think so. It'll be interesting to see what they've got to say.